Before the break, I told you about a rarely discussed factor that could, in fact, be a driver of the inflation that we're seeing today, or at least a part of it. Corporations charging more money for their products or services simply to increase their profits and bottom line under the of inflation. For more on this, I'm joined by Sheila Kolhatkar. She's a former hedge fund analyst, a staff writer for The New Yorker, and the author of an important book called Black Edge: Inside Information, Dirty Money, and the Quest to Bring Down the Most Wanted Man on Wall Street. It's a great book. It's about Stephen A. Cohen and his company. Sheila, this one's hard to pin down because you have to have information on why a company would have raised prices. But we are seeing increasing evidence that there are some companies who are saying, hey, with prices of labor going up and raw materials and oil and shipping, and everybody's got their head around the fact that there's inflation, why don't we just jack our prices up a little more to protect or increase our profits?
So if you're running a company right now, there are a lot of good excuses to raise prices. As you mentioned, costs of all sorts of materials have increased due to disruptions in the supply chain. We have a war going on in Ukraine. We're still dealing with the effects of a pandemic. And then, of course, something happened that we've been waiting for years, which is wages for average workers finally started to go up. So households have more money to spend. So there are all these factors that make it really easy for a company CEO to say, you know what? Look at all these things going on in the market. We can raise prices. There's a lot of evidence that corporate profits are up many percentage points. One estimate, 8% or more from the year before. So the question then becomes, why do they have to raise prices quite so much as they are? If they're really making 8% more money than they did last year, then obviously they've covered their own costs that have increased due to their own inflationary pressures. So then you have to look at the fact that, well, we live in a capitalist society, and most corporations think that their only duty is to maximize returns for their shareholders. And as long as they can do this, they will. And really the only solution is for people to stop buying so much stuff.
So this is you've landed. It was amazing because you've landed everywhere I needed to go, and that is that they don't have. It's not. No law is broken. This isn't gouging. This isn't selling water at a premium during a hurricane. But the question is, how much? What are they entitled to? What do we as society think is fair? We are in a capitalist society. People have 401ks. They invest in these companies. It's fine if they're profitable. But what duty do they have? And how, as a consumer, do I make those decisions? How do I say I'll shop here because they're being fair about it? They're passing to me their actual legitimate increased costs. And by the way, every small business I do business with has to do that, right? They've got higher labor costs, so things cost a little more. I'm fine with that. How do I distinguish between the companies that are fairly passing on their increased costs and those that are taking advantage of the idea that there's inflation to make more money off of me in this moment?
Well, households, even though they did, many of them experience increases in wages, which was sort of long overdue for a lot of sort of middle income American workers, they are feeling a lot of pressure right now as well. Housing prices have increased. Healthcare prices have increased. Costs of fuel to get to work are way up. Grocery bills are astronomical. So what's ultimately going to have to happen is consumers are going to reach their limit and become fed up. And I hear this around me all the time. People are getting a little bit sick of just the aggressive increases in prices. It's sort of become transparent that they're not all necessary. And unless someone is delivering a really important good or service of extremely high quality, consumers are just going to start to refuse to pay. And ultimately, that's going to happen with non-necessary purchases. I mean, going out to restaurants, for example, doing things that you don't absolutely need to do to survive. And people are going to end up conserving their resources for their really critical expenditures. And we can hope that that will send a message to companies that they have gone a little bit too far and they need to moderate their quests for profits through higher prices to match what is right and what the consumer demand actually expects of them at this moment.
I wonder whether it would work the other way. I wonder whether there's a messaging opportunity from companies to be able to say, hey, we're not increasing our profits at your expense right now. We know you're going through a tough time. We may have to pass on some of our increased costs. There may be companies who are saying we'll eat some of those increased costs. But since we as regular people can't make the determination as to which company is doing it and which company isn't, I wonder if it would be a neat marketing tool in 2023 to say we're being fair to you.
I mean, I'm surprised some communications strategists haven't suggested that because it might work. I mean, truthfully, I think that big corporations especially don't have a ton of credibility in the market right now. I mean, people have come to not trust them. And as you mentioned earlier, in fact, there have been so many huge mergers in so many areas that even before this inflation spike, a lot of companies were aggressively raising prices because they have almost monopolistic dominance in their particular market. I mean, for example, if you have been paying for internet service in your home for the last 10 years, you have watched the prices just go up like crazy to the point where it's almost unaffordable for a lot of people. So the problem is we're at a low point in terms of corporate credibility. There are things that the government could do to try and address some of this, including trying to address some of the monopoly problems we have in the economy. And we can certainly hope that the government will take some of those steps. But ultimately, there isn't a whole lot that can be done to force these companies to stop behaving this way. Capitalists will do what capitalists will do.
So the next time you hear about a big merger and you think you don't care, maybe you do care, that you won't have competition to go somewhere else for your internet service when your prices go up. Thanks as always, Sheila. Great to see you. Sheila Kolhatkar is a former hedge fund analyst, staff writer for The New Yorker, and the author of Black Edge, Inside Information, Dirty Money, and the Quest to Bring Down the Most Wanted Man on Wall Street.